Alright, y'all, it's finally time to explain this Descendants 4 issue when it comes to Chad Charming, Chloe Charming, and their whole parent debacle, and basically explaining Descendants 4 and how it fits into the franchise. As you can see here, there's a lot of differences between these two, and if the casting was done a little bit differently, it would have made more sense, but there are content creators like me that have to make it make sense. So Chloe Charming, Chad Charming. These two look like they could be related if their parents didn't look like this. As you can see, their parents are a little bit different. Chloe Charming looks like she could be their daughter, but Chad Charming doesn't. But the simple explanation for this is adoption. People be forgetting that adoption exists, and here's why this makes sense in this context. Going back to the original Brandy Cinderella films, Chad Charming, Brandy, beautiful couple, but let me show you Chad Charming. Wait, that's not Chad Charming. Prince Charming's parents. As you can see, we run into a similar issue, and the director's explanation for this is they focus more on casting for the role than, race matching, and that makes sense. So the obvious explanation was that Prince Charming was adopted by these two beautiful human beings. So obviously, when we get to Descendants 4, let's just say in this context for this universe, Prince Charming and Cinderella, tried for their first kid. They could not get a first kid, so they adopted Chad Charming, but later on, they end up having Chloe Charming through a miracle, which would explain the whole issue, the adoption. Or you could do a storyline like this. Prince Charming, accepts the fact that he was adopted and he wants to adopt another little boy so that he can have the same experiences that he had because he had a positive experience with adoption. So, thus creating Chad Charming. But people are really, confused with the fact that, Cinderella would not raise no, ick of a kid being Chad, but here's the thing. Adopted kids, let's just say he's entitled. Chad is entitled, and say he hasn't grasped the concept that he is adopted yet. And, Chad is stupid. So he'll figure it out eventually, and when he figures it out, he'll probably be in a future Descendants film. So, yeah. Also, I wanted to brush on this before I ended the video. Descendants 4 is not a reboot of the Descendants franchise. They completely wrapped Descendants up in a magical little bow. Rest in peace, Cameron Boyce. I understand he's not in it, but they wrapped it up in Descendants: The Royal Wedding. It's on Disney Plus. All the actors who played all these characters came back to voice these characters to finish off their part of the franchise. They laid the groundwork so these new generations of VKs and HKs, hero kids, can come along and, live their lives in Ordon. This was the ending of the film. They even acknowledge Carlos's potential death in this film, because they kept saying, I wish Carlos was here. They referenced Cameron Boyce in this film, and yeah, this is very canon to the Descendants franchise. Furthermore, the Rise of Red storyline is following the Queen of Hearts and her daughter Red, and this completely makes sense. Not all the villains were trapped on the Isle of the Lost. The Queen of Hearts has a whole kingdom that she's the queen of, and obviously I think Red has some sort of vendetta against them, or her mother does, and she's sending her to Ordon Prep in order to, take it down from the inside, similar to how Maleficent did with Mal in the first, Descendants film. And seeing how Uma has had a similar vendetta against, the VKs in general about her being left behind on the Isle of the Lost, it makes sense why she comes back as the dean of this new Ordon Prep branch of school, because I don't think it's Ordon Prep. I think they're calling it something else. Seeing as she's the new dean to help guide this new generation of VKs and HKs to get along, it makes sense why she is the dean, because she's going to guide Red in the right direction. I feel like she's going to be a little bit rebellious at first, and then, she'll get along with everybody. And then we'll continue this new storyline. And then obviously we'll have villains coming up the pipeline, that want revenge on Ordon for, either going against their plans or, the heroes being heroes. But moral of the story, this film is going to be amazing regardless of who's in it. It is a direct continuation off the Descendants. They ended the original Descendants franchise back in Royal Wedding and Descendants 3, because they usually leave this Easter egg where they say, oh, you didn't think this was the end of the story, did you? At the end of every movie, but they did not do that in Descendants 3 because it was the end. It was the end of their franchise, and then they did us a solid by getting everybody back to do one last film, Royal Wedding, which was animated, still canon, but the story for them is done. They could definitely come back in the future, but I don't see them coming back. And if they don't come back, it'll be completely fine, because it wouldn't make sense for them to come back, because they're so much older than this new cast of kids, because this new cast of kids are 16 through 18 year olds. They're the new, people who are living through, Mal, Carlos, Jay, and Evie's legacy of, merging the villain world with the hero world. With all this explained, it makes zero sense why you guys are hating. Y'all are just ripping apart this film just to rip it apart. Just don't watch it if you don't want to watch it, because if you line up all the facts, it makes complete sense. All of this makes complete sense. I know this video was a little bit longer. Hope you guys liked it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.